Yeah. 3-6, mafia.
Yeah.
Whoa. Hey. Yeah. Whoa.
Say what?
Hey. Whoa.
3-6 Mafia.
Hey. Whoa.
It's going down.
Whoa.
Y'all know what time it is. We ain't playing with you. In the club, in the street.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to No B.S. Season 3, Episode 12. Isaiah, how are you doing tonight on this glorious Friday night in April?
Trevor, I am doing fantastic because, my Oakland A's won our 12th game in a row. We're on a roll right now, 12-game win streak. We broke the record, the third longest win streak in Oakland A's history that was set by the 1981 Oakland A's. Now this 2021 Oakland A's team, they have the third longest win streak in Oakland A's history, and tomorrow we go for win number 13 in a row, and then if we can get it tomorrow, we will be, I believe, the second longest winning streak in Oakland A's history, just behind the famous 20-game win streak that the A's had back, I believe, in 2002. So the A's are on a roll, man. It's great to be an A's fan. I don't even know why I freaked out when the A's started 0-6. Trevor, I think you remember that very clearly. When the A's started 0-6, I freaked out like the world was ending and the A's needed to fire the pitching coach. They needed to fire the hitting coach. They needed to release Matt Chapman. Well, now it's going well in Oakland, and it just feels so great. But other than that, man, it's been a great Aloha Friday. I didn't have to work today, thank goodness. So I got to sleep in and sleep for 10 to 12 hours and get my nice relaxation and get my body refreshed and ready to go for a very hectic week that I'm pretty sure is going to end up next week.
And Callan is joining us, he's watching you. And who was that guy you should be cut, Isaiah? Who should be cut?
Matt Chapman, I love you. That's all I'm going to say.
We got to get some nice housekeeping rules in, ladies and gentlemen. We have like the MI6 hot takes. So make sure you go to our Twitter so you can vote for some of the favorite moments in hot takes that have happened so we can finally finish up our March Madness bracket. But now we're in April. So I don't know when this is going to be finished. I have a feeling it's probably going to be finished probably in June. But, keep on voting and, help us break some of these ties that we come across. But let's get into tonight's topics in the world of the NFL, ladies and gentlemen. The Chiefs have acquired Pro Bowl tackle Orlando Brown from the Ravens for Kansas City's Chiefs first-round pick and a couple more picks in the 2021 and 2022 draft. Isaiah, I want to kind of get your thoughts and reactions to this. Is this a good thing for the, Kansas City Chiefs, or is this like you're wasting something you should get younger talent?
Trevor, when I first saw this tweet from Adam Schefter this afternoon, I immediately took my glasses off and I slammed them on the table and I was like, damn it! Why? Why does this have to happen, man? Those damn Chiefs who I hate. I just hate with all my heart and soul. Those damn Chiefs. The rich gets richer, Trevor. I thought that the Chiefs, when they lost their two outstanding offensive linemen, I thought it was going to be the undoing of the Kansas City dynasty. I thought it was going to be my 49ers time to start winning Super Bowls, and we don't have to hear about how great Patrick Mahomes is anymore. I thought it was going to be that time. But the Kansas City Chiefs, after releasing their two star tackles in Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz, what do? They go out and get Joe Thuney with little to none cap space. They managed to land the top guard on the free agent market, and then now with literally not that many assets at their disposal, they go out and get Orlando Brown Jr., who is a Pro Bowl caliber player. He's a star left tackle in the making. He's very young. He's only 24 years of age. The guy has rare size. He's got length. He's got amazing power with unique footwork. I mean, this guy is like a younger version of what the 49ers have with Trent Williams. I'm just so jealous of the Kansas City Chiefs right now. I don't know how on earth Brett Veach and Andy Reid keep pulling these bunnies out of the hat. I honestly don't know. Like, when you think the Chiefs, they have nothing, they can't spend anything to improve the roster, they somehow, some way pull out Joe Thuney, and then now they pull out this trade for Orlando Brown Jr. I don't know how that happens, but good for the Chiefs. The Chiefs will, most likely come out of the AFC again, because now Patrick Mahomes has the protection that he needs. The defense is bend, don't break. If they can make one more move on that defense, maybe get a pass rusher or maybe upgrade the secondary, I think Kansas City, they are definitely coming out of the AFC, and this just solidifies them as AFC favorites.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Getting this key Pro Bowler offensive tackle is definitely going to, give Patrick Mahomes more protection, allow him to become more of a pocket passer, though he's obviously a mobile quarterback, gets out of the pocket, loves to roll out, throw some nice short dimes down the field, even heaves the ball down the field, and this just makes this line even more deadly. I know you went on a rant saying, this is going to be the end of the Kansas City Chiefs dynasty, but I think Callan says it the best. At least you're not in the AFC West. Yes, I have to deal with Patrick Mahomes for the next 5 years in this Kansas City Chiefs dynamic offense. So the best my Chargers can do is get a wild card berth. That's all they can really do, and that's really hard to do at this day and age. With James Gonzalez, he had the same reaction. The Chiefs keep making leaps and bounds. And from Callan, do you still not fear Patrick Mahomes? I want you to, go in that a little bit.
Let me say this. I do fear Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes.
He finally fears it, ladies and gentlemen.
Wrong in the Super Bowl, Trevor.
Mark your calendars. April 23rd, 2021. Isaiah Leung fears Patrick Mahomes, ladies and gentlemen. Right here, you heard it first on the MI6 Sports Network.
I got a little too cocky going into that Super Bowl that my Niners were going to shut down Patrick Mahomes. And to the Niners' credit, they were shutting down Patrick Mahomes. The defense was suffocating the Chiefs' offense like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' defense did this past Super Bowl. But Patrick Mahomes is magical, folks. He's magical. He does things that you have never seen from an NFL quarterback. The guy, when you think you have him down on the ground for a sack, he somehow, some way is able to either get out of it and make a sidearm pass, or when he's going down, the guy just makes a pass while going down, and one of his receivers or tight ends makes the catch, and it ends up being like a 10 or 15 or even 20, 25-yard gain, and it's a first down, and you're like thinking, what? I just had him nearly on the ground, and he does this. So I got to give props to Patrick Mahomes. I am fearing Patrick Mahomes. But, Trevor, I wanted to add one more thing about this Orlando Brown to the Chiefs acquisition, and that is, I want to give the Chiefs a lot of credit, because a lot of teams in the NFL, I think their problem is the fact that they are so afraid to put all their chips in the middle of the table and go for it this season when they have a team that is capable of winning a Super Bowl this season. A lot of teams are like, but we don't want to sacrifice, assets. We don't want to, sacrifice future draft picks to try to win now. Kansas City, they have a team with Mahomes, with Kelsey, with Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, and all those guys. And Andy Reid is the play caller, the head coach. They are a team that is not afraid to put all their chips in and say, I don't care about the future. I'm all in on winning now. And the Chiefs, they needed a left tackle in Orlando. They needed a left tackle. They get a guy in Orlando Brown who's only under contract one more year. I don't know how the Chiefs are going to pay all those guys, but in the words of Ted Mosby from How I Met Your Mother, let the future Kansas City Chiefs deal with that. Let's live in the moment. Let's live in the present and let the future Chiefs think about it when that time comes. And let's cross that bridge when that time comes. Got to give the Chiefs a lot of credit. I wish more teams in the NFL had that aggressive mindset.
To add on, I think you made a mistake because Watkins plays for the Ravens, LOL. But for James Gonzalez, it doesn't matter anyway. His Raiders pass rush isn't going to be sacking Patrick Mahomes anytime soon. And little baseball for you, Isaiah. Does Matt Chapman need to be cut, Isaiah? This is from Callan.
Matt Chapman doesn't need to be cut. In fact, I got to apologize to Matt Chapman. Trevor, put the camera on me, please. Put the camera on me. Chappie, if you're listening right now, wherever you are, I need to apologize. You know what? I'm going to even take it an extra step. I am going to get down on my knees and apologize to you for saying that you needed to be cut. You were one of the best third basemen in the game of baseball. You are so good on offense with your bat. You are a magician on defense. At third base. That's why you won all those gold gloves. You are like the Patrick Mahomes of third base defense in Major League Baseball. You're just so tremendous at defense in third base. And I would be extremely pissed with the Oakland A's, and I would disown the Oakland A's if they ever traded you the next couple of seasons. I know you're a free agent in 3 seasons, and the A's will probably not be able to afford you, but I am going to take the next couple of years and cherish what you bring to the table, man. I'm sorry for saying you needed to be cut. You are an excellent player, and I hope you bring my Oakland A's a championship in the coming years.
All righty. And Isaiah got his apology in, ladies and gentlemen. That is fantastic. But let us keep moving back in the world of the NFL with Justin Fields, the man from the Ohio State University. You know, as we know that he's been managing his epilepsy. But Isaiah, does this have a long-lasting effect on Justin Fields' potential NFL career, or does this mean he drops a little bit lower in the draft because of this issues and teams want a quarterback that they could either start now or maybe potentially, move into a transitional system? In my eyes, I think, if this, makes Justin Fields falls back in the draft, he may get drafted to a better team and probably have a more successful NFL career than getting drafted into the top teams and having a miserable career. Because as we've seen, Ohio State quarterbacks gone in the earlier rounds don't really have that good career and become a bust. So this is definitely going to be interesting to see what plays out for Justin Fields. But I want to go for you. It's like, what do you think this means for Justin Fields in his NFL career?
Well, Trevor, I know a lot of people out there on social media and in the media in general seems to be brushing this topic off like, hey, it's not going to affect Justin Fields. He's going to be fine. But Trevor, if I were an NFL team or if I was a part of an NFL team and I was evaluating Justin Fields, I'd be a little worried. I know that his doctors said that he can manage it and he could potentially outgrow it. But I had a friend who had epilepsy and, she died because of it earlier this year. And epilepsy is a very tricky neurological disease, or it's a condition. And epilepsy, it's related to the brain. And if you look at football football, you see a lot of trauma to the head and the brain area. So if I were a part of an NFL franchise evaluating Justin Fields and thinking about whether to pick him to be my team's next franchise quarterback, yes, I would have a little concern about it because, like I said, epilepsy condition related to the brain. Football, you see a lot of trauma, hits to the head and the brain area. And if you connect those dots, I want my quarterback who I will select in the top 3. I want that quarterback to be a part of my franchise for the next 10 to 15 years. And I'm just afraid that with all the hits to the head that Fields will inevitably take in the NFL, I'm just scared that that condition will worsen because you're already having a condition of the brain. More hits to the brain will mean it might worsen than it already is right now. And I'm scared that he's going to have to retire at a very young age. And I don't want that, not only for Justin Fields. I want Justin Fields to have a long, outstanding career and to be healthy and live a long life. And also, if I'm an NFL franchise, like I said, I want my quarterback to be there 10 to 15 years, not be like guys like Jake Locker or other quarterbacks or players in the NFL that have retired at a very young age. So I would be a little bit concerned. Do I think that it causes him to drop out of the top 5 or the top 10? I don't know because it seems like that he's had this condition for his entire life and has managed it, but I'm just scared about the more hits that he will take. I'm just scared that the condition will just consistently get worse and worse throughout the years.
Yeah, it's really hard to say how this is going to really impact Justin Fields. It's like you kind of want him to go to a good team that has a good offensive line, so it doesn't have a huge impact on his career. But it's like as you see the teams that are, at the top of the draft, they may not have the best offensive line, and you're going to be taking a lot of sacks. And we saw what happened to Joe Burrow. He got a terrible knee injury, and it really, you could say it's career ending. He's not the same type of mobile. I guess Joe Burrow was never really a mobile quarterback, but he could run if he had to, but it wasn't his number one option to run. But, it's going to be really interesting. From Callan, he hopes that he hopes that he has an amazing career. I'm rooting for him as a man and a player. From Callan. Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. We're going to hope, we wish Justin Fields the best, and hopefully he gets drafted to a good team so he has a nice, long, and healthy career. Isaiah?
I hope that, honestly, that he slides because, like you said, Trevor, I think that if he can go to a better team, I think it's better for him with a better offensive line so he doesn't get hit that much. And I think that would be better for, this condition that he's currently suffering right now. That's why, I really think a team like San Francisco could be a good team for him, even though they're top 3. I think that it would be good if they select him, not only because he would, I think, be able to sit 1 year and learn under Jimmy Garoppolo and learn, under the Kyle Shanahan's offense. And also the 49ers, their offensive line, as much as we like to hate on them, they're not that bad. So I think if he could go to a team that has a good offensive line that can give him good protection, unlike, the Bengals, Jaguars, some of these bad teams that are drafting in the top 5, I think that it would be very helpful for him, not only for, this season or this upcoming season, but for the longevity of his career. And I think that's what, a lot of fans out there in the NFL, they want Justin Fields to play a long time. They don't want him to get, constantly hit and constantly battered and have a really short career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you on that. Now let's move on to one of the main topics tonight in the NFL. Who will have a better career, assuming they are drafted where they are currently projected? Trevor Lawrence to Jacksonville or Zach Wilson to New York? I guess this is the New York Jets, correct?
Yes, it's the New York Jets. But Trevor, you want to go first on this, or should I go first on it?
I'm going to be straight with it. I'm going to say Trevor Lawrence will probably have a better career because it's Urban Meyer. And I could see Urban Meyer making some good moves to make sure that Trevor Lawrence has the right tools to be a successful quarterback in the next couple seasons. What we've seen in New York has been a hot mess for the last 6 years, and they haven't got anything right. And we've seen what happened to Sam Darnold, not pretty in New York. And Zach Wilson could suffer that same exact fate because they're not making leaps and bounds and making huge moves to get key assets for that organization. Where you could see Jacksonville doing those key moves to make sure Trevor Lawrence is going to be that quarterback that's going to have that successful career, who could probably reach a wild card weekend, probably in his third year as an NFL starter. If that happens, if Urban Meyer gets in the right pieces. So I have higher hopes for Trevor Lawrence than Zach Wilson, but I'll go to you, Isaiah. I know you're probably going to say Zach Wilson, but I'm kind of curious what you're actually going to say, though.
Well, first of all, let me say this. So the question is, who will have the better career, assuming they are drafted where the mock drafts, or majority of the mock drafts currently have them projected Trevor Lawrence to Jacksonville and Zach Wilson to New York. I disagree with the mock drafts. I personally think that Zach Wilson is going to go to San Francisco, and I will be switching my jersey from Mullins 49ers Mullins 4 to a Zach Wilson number 4, but that's a different story for a different day. Looking at these two quarterbacks, Trevor, I'm gonna shock you, my man. I'm gonna shock you. It's Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is going to have the better career out of these two. And the reason why is because if these mock drafts had thought like me and projected that Zach Wilson goes to San Francisco, I'd be like, it's hands down going to be Zach Wilson. I think Zach Wilson would be a Hall of Famer with the 49ers and with Kyle Shanahan. That's how highly I think of him as a quarterback and how highly I think of the San Francisco 49ers organization. But if he's going to end up with the New York Jets, I don't have faith that, first of all, I don't have faith that the Jets are going to put a team around him because they did not put a team around Sam Darnold. And you look at Sam Darnold now, his confidence is wilted. He's had so many surgeries throughout his entire young career thus far in the NFL. And we will see what happens in Carolina if he can get his confidence back. But man, when you lose your confidence as a quarterback, it's tough to get that back. I remember Alex Smith lost his confidence and he couldn't get it back until Jim Harbaugh, a quarterback guru, went into San Francisco and, propped him up and said so many high things of him and praised him a lot, and he got his confidence back. But that took like 3-4 years. I just don't trust the New York Jets organization to put a team around Zach Wilson for him to succeed. I know Joe Douglas is a good general manager. I think Robert Saleh will be a good head coach, but these guys are unproven. And when you look at Jacksonville, Urban Meyer, even though he doesn't have NFL head coaching experience, the guy has head coaching experience. The guy knows what it takes to put a team around his quarterback, and he has final say in Jacksonville. And not to mention the fact that Jacksonville's got 10-plus draft picks in the upcoming NFL draft. They've got some young talent there already in Jacksonville with guys like James Robinson, the running back. They have, DJ Chark as well, a really good young receiver. And they have a boatload of cap space, which they spent on Marvin Jones and they spent on, other offensive pieces on the offensive line and to address the defense. I think Urban Meyer will be able to put a good team around Trevor Lawrence for him to succeed. I also like the fact that Darrell Bevell is his offensive coordinator because Darrell Bevell is really good at grooming young quarterbacks. Just look what he did with Russell Wilson when he was a third-round pick. He came to Seattle and, he quickly developed into a star quarterback like we see today playing for Seattle. So I trust Darrell Bevell. I also trust I believe their other offensive coordinator is I'm trying to think think of his name, but I can't off the top of my head. Trevor, I don't know if you can think of his name. He was the Seahawks offensive coordinator last season, but I just like the staff that Urban Meyer has. I trust Urban Meyer with his experience to put a team around Trevor Lawrence. And like you said, Trevor, if you look at this division right now, the AFC South, it is, I think, going to be the weakest division in football. It might be because it might, or next to the NFC least, it might be the weakest division in football. Because when you look at it, Deshaun Watson, I don't even think he's going to play for I don't even think he might even play next year, let alone for the Texans, because he's dealing with all the legal stuff. And Trevor, you and I both know this. Even if you're found not guilty by the NFL, they're still going to suspend you. There's been many guys that have settled their lawsuits or been proven to be not guilty, and they still hand down a suspension to the player. So I anticipate that Deshaun Watson is going to get some type of suspension or some type of punishment by the NFL. And when he does get off the suspension or the punishment, I do in fact believe that he's going to be out of Houston. So Houston, they're in a total rebuild. They're probably going to have a different quarterback next season. They might have Tyrod Taylor as their starter, and I don't really believe in him. Indianapolis, Carson Wentz is a big question mark. I don't know how Carson Wentz will be. I know he was really good with Frank Reich, but like I said earlier, quarterbacks, when they lose their confidence, they take a long time to get that confidence back. So he lost his confidence. I don't know if he can get it back. The Colts, they do have a good team, but the Titans, you know me, Trevor. I do not believe in Ryan Tannehill. I don't believe in Ryan Tannehill. I think if you stop Derrick Henry, like the Ravens did last in the playoffs, if you stop Derrick Henry, the Tennessee Titans are nothing. I think Trevor Lawrence and Jacksonville, I think they can go to the playoffs in year 2, and I would not be surprised if they won the division in year 3. So I would go with Trevor Lawrence over Zach Wilson in New York. But if Zach Wilson goes to the 49ers, then call me up.
Like he said, with Zach Wilson going to the 49ers, they have the pieces now. So it's like he will have like an early jump start compared to Trevor Lawrence. Like, it'd be a no-brainer because you have all those key weapons. You have a great, solid defense. So you should have, in reality, good results in theory. But at the same time, we've seen quarterbacks who have a system and just can't perform. And it's a shame to see that happen. But it's going to probably end up becoming more of like what Kirstie Wilson says. And I know it's probably not to that pedigree, but the whole, Peyton Manning versus Ryan Leaf back in '89 and determining which will have a better NFL career. Obviously, we know the end of the story that Peyton Manning was the better option in the end. Ends up going off to be a Hall of Famer, having 2 Super Bowls underneath his belt. But, we have to wait and see what ends up happening. And it's definitely going to be one of those interesting developments as time progresses. But we have to wait and see how their careers go.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we kind of know that Trevor Lawrence for sure is going to Jacksonville. There's no debate over it. It's going to happen. Zach Wilson, it's not that certain that he's going to go to New York. If he goes to New York, I don't trust the Jets to put a team around him. If he goes to the 49ers, I trust the 49ers more because they are a more stable organization than the New York Jets. So it all depends where they go. But if, like the question we pose is who will have a better career if they land where they are currently projected, I have more faith in Urban Meyer and the Jacksonville Jaguars than the New York Jets.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. More like it's just the Jets. They haven't really been a huge threat in the AFC North, not AFC North, the AFC East.
And also not to mention the fact that the AFC East is exponentially stronger than the AFC South. Because when you look at the division, right, the Patriots, I think they could do big things this year. They just need a quarterback. They invested a lot of money in free agency. They have also a lot of draft picks as well. And the Dolphins, Brian Flores, Chris Greer, they've got that franchise on the upswing. They have a lot of draft picks. They got a lot of young talent. I think the Dolphins are primed to do big things. Maybe not this upcoming year, but next year. The Dolphins are on the up and coming. The Bills, Josh Allen, we know what they're about. So that's 3 teams right there that, you're going to have to go up against. That's why I just think, like, when you look at the divisions as well, the division that Trevor Lawrence will be in is just more weaker than Zach Wilson. And I could see Trevor Lawrence making the playoffs, whether it's winning the AFC South or winning a wild card with the Jaguars, rather than Zach Wilson winning the division in the AFC East.
Yep, I agree. I feel you on that. But let's keep on marching on in the NFL segment. For our last NFL segment for tonight is the 49ers are meeting with Devontae Freeman. Is this a potential, a good signing potentially if it actually goes through? So, Isaiah, what do you think about this? Do you think Devontae Freeman and your 49ers, good, bad, or the ugly?
Well, if the 49ers sign Devontae Freeman, I won't be mad about it. I just don't like this move because I would rather have Frank Gore than Devontae Freeman. The 49ers right now, I believe they have 3 running backs on the roster. Jeff Wilson, they have Wayne Gallman, who they signed from the New York Giants, and then they have Raheem Mostert. So they want one more running back because they like to keep a 4-man running back room. But I just want it to be Frank Gore, not because of the nostalgia, but because I think that Devontae Freeman, I think his best days are behind him. The guy, if you look at it, he hasn't been productive the last couple of seasons. He's been really injury prone. And Frank Gore, the guy is like Iron Man. The guy never gets hurt. The guy is 37 years of age. He's still going strong, and I believe he fits in better with what the 49ers need right now than Devontae Freeman. The 49ers right now already have a running back that's similar to Devontae Freeman in Raheem Mostert, who's very fast. He can catch the ball as well out of the backfield. They have Jeff Wilson, who is a power back who can also catch the ball out of the backfield. I think what the Niners, and they also have Wayne Gallman, who's a really fast running back as well. They need a guy who can be a short yardage power back. That's what they need. And Frank Gore fits that type of running back. You can just give it to him on 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2, and you can get that automatic first down with Frank Gore running the football. I just think that with Frank Gore's health, with with his power, I just think he's a better fit for the 49ers than Devontae Freeman. I understand why they're bringing Devontae Freeman in for a visit because, he's got familiarity with Kyle Shanahan and his offense, but the guy is just on the downswing of his career, and I just don't see him getting back to where he once was when he was in the prime of his career.
Yep. For the 49ers, I think having that short back that gets you your 3rd and 3, you go to reliable, you get the first and keep the drive going. I think if you have that type of running back, definitely be beneficial. But as we see in the NFL draft, the teams are not just built how they used to be. You don't have those power backs like Jerome Bettis that will power through, or Earl Campbell would just wreck through teams. It's those backs don't exist as they used to be. So it's hard to find that strong hitting power back. Yes, you could probably say Saquon Barkley and Ezekiel Elliott have that potential and go in that projection, but Saquon Barkley hasn't been, healthy to, truly define his worth and being that power back that we all know that he can easily become. But, I think, 49ers definitely need that power back, and probably they could end up going to the draft to find a back or finding a better veteran that has more power than Devontae Freeman. But I see we have John joining us tonight before we go to you. But I'll go to John first. John, how are you doing tonight, my friend?
What's up, y'all? And Matt Chapman. But again, glad to be on and talk some football. But the Devontae Freeman, folks, let's be honest, he was garbage from the beginning. He was even his best year, he barely cracked 1,000 yards. And that year after he got paid, Falcons lost in the Super Bowl, and it's not the signing just doesn't make sense. Just because, like you said, injury prone, he's never been consistent. He's never been that guy that he could have been. So I think it's definitely a mistake. Signing Frank Gore, not just nostalgia. This guy, was it 37 years old? Being a running back in the NFL, I don't know how he does it, but my hats are off to him for sure.
Yep, for sure. It's just Frank Gore has been through it all. Still puts up good, solid numbers for his age. And it's like he's more of, I wouldn't say he's not a starting running back, but he's like that third down back that you go to now. And he'll get those yards that you need him because he knows how to run north and south on the football field. So that's the beauty of Frank Gore. But I know Isaiah had a comment before I went off to John, so I'll let you go back to your comment, Isaiah.
Yeah, I was also going to say, if the 49ers really want to sign another running back to make it a 4 running back room, I would watch out for Michael Carter from North Carolina in the upcoming draft. This guy, I watched him play when North Carolina played, I believe, Miami, and he had a career day. I think he ran for over like 300 plus yards against Miami, and this guy showed a lot of burst. He showed power. He showed elusiveness. He showed that he could catch the ball out of the backfield and make guys miss left and right. I think he would be a tremendous addition to the 49ers. And if they get Michael Carter, I would not be shocked if Raheem Mostert gets either released or if he gets cut or if he gets traded, whether it's, this or after the draft or in the next or after this upcoming season, because I think that Raheem Mostert, he just makes, a lot of money. And if you have Michael Carter, he'll be on a rookie contract. And you know how the 49ers like to operate? They kind of like to operate like the Patriots. They don't like to pay their players that much money. They're very stringent on how much money a player makes. So that might be a situation to watch out for.
For sure, for sure. But I think that, hits up the NFL segment as we can bounce our way to basketball. See my pun right there, ladies and gentlemen. We're there with the puns. Before we go off to that NBA, Casey King says, Isaiah, are you not going to get a Freeman jersey if you sign him? Is that true before we bounce off to basketball?
I'm just hoping the 49ers listen to me and sign Frank Gore, because I got a number 21 jersey in my closet that, it's been in my closet stuck in there for the last 5 years, and I can't wait to dust it off out of the closet and get to wear that instead of having to spend more money on a Devontae Freeman jersey. So please, Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, please, I'm begging you, do not make me have to spend another 60, 70, 80 bucks on a new jersey, please. Just let me get my old jersey and let me wear that and recycle that instead.
All righty. At this point, I feel like, ladies and gentlemen, I think we need to get Isaiah like a digital name jersey change. So anytime there's a new player, you can just change the number and the name on the back of his shirt. So I think that's what Isaiah really needs. So any tech experts out there can create a type of shirt that for Isaiah, that would be highly appreciated. Or a whiteboard shirt so you can draw the numbers and the player's name on the back. So those are the two best options for Isaiah. But let's bounce off to basketball. With LaMelo Ball is cleared to start, court activities again, with his rehab of his broken wrist, and he could return to, 7 to 10 days. This is, going to be interesting, but, once he makes his return, are the Hornets kind of locked in their playoff seeds? I'll go to Isaiah. What do you think about this? Is this a good thing, or is it like they were never, in deep trouble and they just needed him to come back so they just have a good, respectable seat in the playoffs?
First of all, let me say this. The league just got put back on notice. LaMelo Ball, the guy that I said, I think it was a month ago on No B.S., he would be the face of the NBA in 6 years. LaMelo Ball is back, and the league better watch out because this kid is going to exact vengeance on the rest of the NBA. He's had a tremendous rookie season thus far in his first year in the NBA. I think that it's tremendous that he's coming back because everybody thought that when he suffered that broken wrist injury, I think it was not too long ago, that he was going to be out for the year. And if I got my dates right, I think he suffered that injury in February, and he's only going to miss he suffered that injury in March. I think it was in mid-March, and he's only going to miss a month with that broken wrist. So, man, his body's healing really fast. The rehab must be going really fast, and it's just marvelous that he's coming back from a broken wrist in, I believe, a month to a month and 2 weeks time. So it's really remarkable how fast his rehab is going. But in terms of, are the Hornets a lock to make the playoffs now that LaMelo Ball is back? I think it's good for the Hornets that he's back because LaMelo Ball makes their offense just so much better. He unlocks, a different element to the Hornets offense, and he makes the Hornets offense just so much smoother and so much fun to watch. When LaMelo Ball went out, the Charlotte Hornets were sitting in 5th in the Eastern Conference, and now that he's been out for a month to about 9 weeks, the Charlotte, or about not 9 weeks, but I think it's 6 weeks. The Hornets are now 8th in the Eastern Conference. They're 29-30. They are, I believe, they are 3 games up on the 10th place Washington Wizards and 2.5 games up on the Indiana Pacers for that final playoff spot in the East. And you guys know this year is very different. If you can get to number 10, you will be in a play-in tournament. So the Hornets, I think they are definitely a lock to get into the play-in tournament. As far as, if they are a lock to get into the playoffs in general, it's tough to tell because I think right now they're slated for the 7th and 8th seed. If you look at their schedule coming up, it is very tough. They got the Celtics coming up on Sunday. Then they play the Milwaukee Bucks. Then they play Boston again. So those 3 might be losses right there. And then they got the Pistons, the Miami Heat, the Pistons again, the Chicago Bulls. That game is going to be a really big game because the Bulls are fighting with the Hornets and a bunch of other teams to try to get into that play-in tournament. Then they got your Orlando Magic, Trevor. And unfortunately, your Orlando Magic are one of the worst teams.
No, they got oh my God.
Yes, sorry for harping on your Magic, Trevor, but your Orlando Magic play the Hornets. Then LaMelo plays his brother Lonzo in New Orleans, it's in Charlotte. And then they play Denver, the Clippers, the Knicks, and the Wizards to end the year. It's just a really tough schedule coming up for the Charlotte Hornets. I'm more leaning towards that they are going to be in the play-in tournament, but I don't think they're going to get back to where they were when LaMelo went out, which was the 5th or the 6th spot, and that was a guarantee to be in to the playoffs and the ability to play a 7-game series in the NBA playoffs. With this schedule, I just don't see it. As much as I love LaMelo Ball and as much as I love the fact that he makes the Charlotte Hornets so much better, I just can't be, that bold and say that with this schedule that they're going to, smash everybody in this schedule and make the playoffs and play a 7-game series in the first round. I just can't do it. I don't think that there are a lock to make the playoffs. I think that they're a lock to make the play-in, but it's going to be tough once they reach the play-in because it's 1 game winner take all. And Trevor, John, you know about basketball. Sometimes the basketball bounce is funny and some funny things happen. Sometimes, your shooters can have a cold night and then you're screwed. So I think they have better chances at being in the play-in than they are being locked into a 7-game first-round series.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those interesting things to see. And I don't even know. It's just, I don't know. I'm just lost for words. I'm trying to put words in my mouth to just wrap my head around this team as a whole and being able to be all right in the playoffs. And like my Orlando Magic, going back to that comment, Isaiah, they got rid of people. and they shouldn't have. Like, they had a chance to actually have a good team, good solid young stars, and now they're trading them away, which I don't know. I don't know why. Unless you're trying to get other good assets, but I haven't seen that. So, aside from there, but I want to go to John. I guess before I go to John, Isaiah, you have one more comment you would like to add on.
Let me also say this. If the Charlotte Hornets they don't end up making the playoffs this year, it's already a really impressive feat what they accomplished, because this team, many projected this team, even with LaMelo Ball, many projected this team to be a bottom feeding team, like where John's Cavs are right now and where your Orlando Magic are right now, Trevor. For them to get into a play-in tournament, just a play-in tournament, is already really impressive. Considering where they were projected this season, I think these players, this is a very young team. They can take lessons from what they learned this season and apply it moving forward. And I liken them to the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks, they have a lot of young talent. Just like last year, they had a lot of young talent, and they were slowly taking steps. They drafted well, and then first year they didn't make the playoffs, but they got close to it. They got into like the 10th and the 9th spot, and then they just keep having progress, and I think that's what Charlotte is right now. They're going to be very exciting to watch as the years go by.
And I'll go to my friend John. John, what do you think about this? LaMelo Ball returning with his wrist injury, about 7 to 10 days. Isaiah kind of gave us some of their, tough I shouldn't say tough games, but road games, but games that they have coming up in the next couple weeks. Does this kind of put them, in a lock in the playoff bid, or is this like, nah, they're just going to fall through because a wrist injury messing up your shooting percentage, and it just becomes like a downward spiral from there?
In the famous words of Isaiah, if the Charlotte Hornets do not make the playoffs to the play-in tournament, it is because of corruption. It is because I'm going to blame all of these refs. It's because they caused this injury, because they were at the fifth seat, blah, blah, blah. You sound like a Alex Jones tinfoil hat. But no, I definitely think this is great, and I can say this at least for right now. Unlike someone in Square 2, I can swallow my pride when I am wrong about a player. I can say for right now, I was wrong about him. But this just proves him being back. The play-in tournament would be great, because you talk about the Hornets in the past, let's say 5, 10 plus years. They've been a hot bowl of baby diarrhea. They have been one of the biggest jokes in the national basketball. In the NBA. This team is a joke. And now where they are, they're headed in the right direction. A lot of times you see franchises in the NBA where they're on the cusp of making the playoffs. They're on the cusp of contending. But sometimes when a team success happens too early, it can hurt future contention. But, it's definitely going to help them out a lot. But, they still have, I believe, some pieces to really address in the upcoming draft for sure.
Isaiah actually wants to throw his own comment and say his name, John. Who were you wrong about?
Come on, John. Who are you wrong about?
First, the reason why I can't say is because I can't pronounce his name right. That's the only problem. I'm terrible at pronouncing names. Which brother is it? I'm sorry, bro. Like, is it
LaMelo?
Okay, LaMelo Ball. I can swallow my pride now that I know I can pronounce your name right. For right now, not for his entire career. Let's not put this water boy Tom Brady like a current somebody, Mr. Brian Snow, on here. I was wrong right now, at least right now, wrong about LaMelo Ball. But I can swallow my pride and admit that I'm wrong, because it doesn't bother me. That's the growth as a man, as a human being. When I'm wrong about a player, I can admit it. Unlike somebody in Square 2.
This is a very historic moment, folks. I might need some tissues right now, because John Alcorn actually admitted he was wrong on the air. Oh,
I've done that.
This is a watershed moment,
dude,
folks.
I've done that multiple times. Ask Trevor, ask Callum. I've admitted multiple times when I'm wrong. I don't make excuses. I don't say, oh, it's corruption. It's all the waste on the planet. I don't blame corruption. I don't blame the refs like you did before on the pre-show call. Thank you very much. But at least I don't blame it on something else, like corruption, or sound like a tinfoil hat boomer and make an excuse why a team doesn't do it or why I was wrong. I was wrong, but at least I can admit it.
All righty, all right. I think that's good for our NBA segment, gentlemen. We're going to move on to the Olympics. Yes, it seems that we're trying to get an Olympics this year in
Well,
the summer 2021, but it seems that Japan has declared its third national state of emergency because of COVID-19 going on 3 months before the actual start date of the 2021 Summer Games. Are we confident that we're going to get an Olympics this year, or is it still way too early to have it? I understand many things can happen in the next 3 months. We've seen it before, what COVID has done and how fast we've trying to make leaps and bounds to get back to reality. What do you guys think? I'll go to Isaiah. Do you think they will still have the Summer Games this summer, or is it, you got to scrap and look for another window of opportunity?
Trevor, if you had asked me this question about a couple weeks ago, I would have told you, hell yes, there will be the games in Japan because we have the vaccine. The cases seem to be going down right now, and people seem to be, able to travel everywhere, and life just seems to be getting more normal each and every day as it goes by. But after hearing the news from Japan today that they have declared a third national state of emergency because of the ongoing pandemic, I looked up the new cases in Japan, and a couple of days ago, Japan, you guys know how small Japan is, right? So they don't have that many people in Japan. Japan, a couple of days ago, they had only 2,700 cases. Today, they have 5,526 new cases. So that's like a 3,000 case spike. And it's a bit worrisome, and I'm kind of on the fence that if it might or may not happen, because like you said, Trevor, every day we don't know, COVID could derail things like that quickly. That's what I've learned from this pandemic. It's really worrisome that the cases, if you look at the cases rate in Japan, it's going higher and higher each and every day. It's really sad because I know a lot of the athletes want to compete in the Olympics, but right now I think it's a bit murky. I don't know if it's going to happen. But this news really it makes it a bit worrisome. And I think the Olympic Committee needs to start finding another city or country to host it in, because I don't know if Japan is going to be able to do it. I really don't. And you also have to bring in a ton of athletes from each and every country. It just seems like a tough task, and I just don't think they're going to be able to do it. So right now I'm leaning towards no, but I hope I'm wrong.
And I go to John. What do you think? Is it possible for Japan to still have the Summer Olympics, or maybe they should reschedule it for next summer? But at the same time, if you push it to another summer, do you try to almost redo Olympic trials at that point? Because it's you're halfway point between another Olympic cycle to prepare for the 2024 Olympics.
I definitely think, that's a tough thing, man. This last year's been very unpredictable. Didn't know was gonna know y'all, but at this point, if their cases are going up, like Isaiah is saying, you might as well delay till next summer, and it's better to do the tryouts again, because any time when you take a break from something, from work, your career, you're going to be a little bit rusty. It's going to take a lot of time to adjust. So at this point, knowing with Japan and everything else and how it's small, I would say at this point, wait till next summer. Make sure everybody's fully healthy. We're in a better situation over there and over here and everywhere else. So I think it'd be a lot easier. You're not as concerned about the health and everything else. Less stress. Cases are going to be down a little to no cases at all, if any. So I think it'd be a lot better if they did that.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be hard to say where things end up becoming in the next 3 months. Fingers crossed that, the cases decrease and we get the Summer Olympics. I always look forward to the track and fields that happened during that time, and watching the 100-meter dash to the 4x4. The list goes on and on for like the Summer Olympics of just trying out new sports that you normally don't watch and just learning something new every day about them.
I'll be honest, the last time I watched the Olympics was 2008. So these last 2 or 3 topics I've practically talked out of my ear because again, well, I don't know anything about them.
It's like how we did at baseball when Isaiah had internet issues. We've done well,
Right.
John.
Exactly, folks, because those questions I asked with Maverick Paul, great dude, I blew out of my ear. I don't know what I'm talking about, but we can do that.
Yep, I believe that I'm going to say it's still Callan running it. So next summer is the Winter Olympics in Beijing. I guess that's more like December and all that stuff. So the next time around, I think we'll be in Beijing. Yeah, Isaiah.
Honestly, I think if they can't do it this year, I think they're just gonna have to just cancel the Japan Olympics because I don't believe that. And I may be wrong on this, but I don't believe you can do Summer and Winter Olympics at the same time. And next year, I think that, or if they do it, if they manage to push it to next year, it's going to be in Japan, and then you're going to have winter in China. And I don't even know China is going to be able to host, their Olympics because that was the ground zero of COVID, and reports coming out of China is that they might be having, new cases rising rapidly as well. So it's really tough to say, if the summer are going to be held and also the Winter Olympics are going to be held because you just don't know with COVID. And, with these countries, some of these countries don't even report accurate results like China.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see what it's going to be played out in the next couple months, even as we wrap up 2021 as a whole. So, yeah, it's going to be touch and go, but I think Ishmael will probably say it. One of the best. He's optimistic it's still going to happen, but he's a little bit concerned. I think that everyone's hope it's going to happen. It shows some normalcy if you're able to pull it off. But if it doesn't, it's very concerning, saying we're not just there yet. But fingers crossed, and once we get that Summer Olympics, it shows that we're making steps in the right direction of making things a little bit normal. But that is a good enough topic for the Olympics. Obviously, when the Summer Olympics continues to roll closer, we'll keep you up to date on the glorious MI6 Sports Network. But gentlemen, let us go to our Power 5 for tonight.
Персональный спутник.
Well, gentlemen, obviously our Power 5 tonight is bad. No, not bad predictions. Bold predictions for the 2021 NFL Draft. I know me and Isaiah had a little hard time to come up with it, so it's going to try to be our top 3. Isaiah was able to come up with 5, but I was only able to come up with 2. So I will just go with my 2. And that will be it for my Power 5. So it's my top 2 tonight. My dynamic duo, my terrific 2 or terrible 2. So number 2 is there will be a big trade where a team will give up like 3 picks to move up in the top 10 somewhere. And it's going to be ridiculous. And we're going to have like best GIFs that you could ever imagine on here. And then my number 1 is some team is going to get Mac Jones that we least expected, and we're going to be
49ers.
Thanks, John. But yes, those are my top 2. I'll go to Isaiah. What is your Power 5 on NFL bold predictions for the 2021 NFL Draft?
All right, so yesterday, if you guys watched Wild Sports Talk, me and Ryan released our mock draft. So this is going to kind of be, be like kind of what I had in my mock draft yesterday. Let's start with number 5, folks. Number 5 on this list The Cleveland Browns will trade their first round pick. I believe right now the Cleveland Browns, looking at my list right now, the Cleveland Browns are picking, wrong list. The Cleveland Browns, there we go. The Cleveland Browns are picking number 26. They will trade their first round pick to the New England Patriots for Stephon Gilmore, because the Patriots have been shopping Stephon Gilmore. They want to get rid of him, and the Browns, I know they signed Josh Johnson and they signed Harris, but they got Stephon Gilmore. They get a corner to go all in on winning this year. Number 4 on my list for this Power 5, Trevor, get ready for this, is that Jimmy Garoppolo will be traded during the NFL draft. Either the Bears or the Patriots will trade for him. The Niners are not going to get a second round pick for Jimmy G, they're not going to get a first round pick. My apologies. They're not going to get a first round pick for Jimmy G, but they will manage to get a second round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo, because I just think that a lot of teams, when they're desperate for quarterbacks, they end up paying or overpaying for that player, and they end up getting it. So I got Jimmy G will be traded during the NFL draft. Number 3 on my list is that, hold on, let me look at my mock draft real quick. I don't want to contradict myself. All right, number 3 on my list is that Zach Wilson, the quarterback out of BYU, or Prince Charming, like I call him, Zach Wilson will go to the San Francisco 49ers instead of the New York Jets. A lot of people have Zach Wilson penned to the New York Jets, but I say that Robert Saleh, Mike LaFleur, they've got a familiarity and connection with Justin Fields, having coached him when he was an 18-year-old at the quarterback collective camp that Mike Shanahan and Kyle Shanahan both run. It makes a lot of sense. Mike LaFleur and Robert Saleh reportedly like him very well, like him a lot. Joe Douglas, the GM of the Jets, has reportedly had concerns about Zach Wilson's shoulder. I think they go with the safer pick, and they get Justin Fields out of Ohio State to be their quarterback, just like Christy Wilson says in her comment right there. The Jets picked Justin Fields instead of Zach Wilson. I got Justin Fields going to the Jets as well. I got Zach Wilson going to my 49ers, and he will be dynamic with the 49ers. That was, Trevor, was that number 3?
I forget.
Yeah, I think that was number 3. But hey, if it's not number 3, we will just save this moment for the blooper reel. But number 2 on my list is that Kyle Trask, the quarterback out of Florida, that many people have him projected in the second round, maybe mid-second round. Kyle Trask will go in the first round, and he will go to the New Orleans Saints and be working with Sean Payton and the New Orleans Saints, and the Saints will get their franchise quarterback. And I think Kyle Trask will be amazing with the New Orleans Saints, with Sean Payton, the quarterback guru, with Michael Thomas, with Alvin Kamara. He's going to be in an amazing situation in New Orleans, and not to mention that offensive line and that defense. And last but not least, folks, the Denver Broncos will trade Drew Lock to my San Francisco 49ers in exchange for, guess who? Josh freaking Rosen. We're going to have a Drew
You need a
Lock,
drug test right now.
Josh Rosen swap on draft night. Drew Lock will be the 49ers backup behind Zach Wilson, because the 49ers, they traded away Jimmy G. They need a backup quarterback, and there's been rumors that Kyle Shanahan did like Drew Lock a lot when he was at Missouri, and he did go to Missouri to scout Drew Lock. Drew Lock comes to San Francisco. 49ers get Wilson, Lock, and also Nate Sudfeld as their backup quarterbacks. That is my NFL draft bold prediction. Hey, you said bold predictions, Trevor, so I made it bold.
I almost said bad predictions. All right. I'll go to John. Well, I guess I see Isaiah. You have one more thing to add.
Can I also toss in an honorable mention, Trevor?
Sure.
No.
The Denver Broncos, like I said last night on the mock draft, the Denver
Correction.
Broncos, this should have been in my list, but, I just have so many bold predictions that it just, even though
No.
it's so big and so
They're not bold.
explosive, it can't fit into my list. But the Denver Broncos will trade for Deshaun Watson. The Denver Broncos will trade for Deshaun Watson. I said that last night because the Houston Texans, with everything going on right now, the legal issues and all that stuff, and also with Watson being very disgruntled in Houston, and also with all the teams that have been wanting Deshaun Watson seemingly dropping out each and every day, it seems like the only suitor left for Deshaun Watson is the Denver Broncos, and I don't believe Denver will have to give up that massive package that everybody floated around early in the offseason, which was like 4 first-round picks or something like really ridiculous. I think Denver only gives up 2 first-round picks and maybe a second or a third and lands Deshaun Watson because of all the legal issues, all the off-the-field drama that's going on, and just because there's not that many teams left that either need a quarterback or want Deshaun Watson. So that's my honorable mention, even though it should be in the top 5.
I'll go to John. What is your bold predictions for the 2021 draft?
Let me make this abundantly clear. Isaiah, there is no way the day that Josh Rosen joins the Broncos is the day you make a take that doesn't contradict yourself in any way, shape, or form. Now, what I love with the Broncos trade a little bit, yes, but John Elway doesn't have the match. I have to think Justin Fields does go down a few picks, I think. Because a lot of franchises are concerned for his health. How about the epilepsy? And you want to take it seriously, and I agree with Trevor there. If you go to a team lower, you most likely the team has a better offensive line, the established weapons. They're more of a contender. But this last one, though, I'm just doing it to pick flipping Jones to the San Francisco 49ers, baby. And they are going to miss the playoffs next year, and it's going to be so flipping glorious when it happens.
All righty. I'll read some of our glorious comments from our viewers. Kirsty Wilson has, at number 5, the Cowboys do not trade up to get Kyle Pitts. Next would be the Niners pick Mac Jones, and Isaiah's head will explode. Kirsty Wilson says the Jets pick Justin Fields instead of Zach Wilson. Her second pick, at least 2 draft day trades will be made. And then we have the Patriots trade up to get a real impact player with an honorable mention of Kyle Pitts gets picked up by the 49ers. And I think by Callan, Mac Jones to San Francisco just will make Isaiah's upset. That's all we have to say here. Casey King, he has his bold prediction is 5. The 49ers will draft Mac Jones. And Isaiah will go on a rant, so be prepared for that, ladies and gentlemen, if that happens. Number 4, Jimmy G gets moved. Number 3 is Lando Dickerson. The center will go to his Rams. Number 3, in the 3rd round, my bad, ladies and gentlemen. Number 2 is Kyle Trask goes to the Saints 2. Number 1, the Jets will find a way to screw up their pick and draft and turn into a bunch of Higgins like they've done in the past.
Oh, I got an Isaiah type pick. I just thought that would never happen.
What you got?
This one's good. This would be like a April Fool's. It's never gonna happen. Mac Jones to the Jets because the Jets are stupid. Again, this is not gonna happen. But with the Jets, you never know.
Throw it out there, John. It's bold predictions. Don't
He
hold
spoke
back.
it into the universe, so it could happen.
Isaiah's wearing off. I mean, that's not really a good thing when it comes to NFL.
All right, gentlemen, let's now move on to our final thoughts for tonight's program. It's been a nice lighter episode on No BS tonight. You know, around an hour, almost hour and 15 minutes. We're sitting around like an hour 10. So it's, a nice light episode and compared to what we normally do on this glorious show. But I'll go to Isaiah. What is your final thoughts for tonight's fantastic program at No BS?
Well, before I get into my final thoughts, I just want to take the time to thank Casey King, Christy Wilson, Callan, Chardot, as well as Ishmael, and also James Gonzalez. And I think we had I think that's it. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in to our show tonight. Really appreciate you guys for tuning in. It means the world to us that, you guys take the time out of your busy day to tune into our show. We really appreciate, the love and the support that you guys give us. So thank you so, so much. But my final thoughts for tonight's show is that, first of all, the Oakland A's, 12 consecutive wins. They are rolling right now. I'm feeling so good that I just want to dance on the air right now. But also, I just want to say this, that I cannot wait for, and Trevor's going to announce this, after me and John are done giving our final thoughts, but I can't wait for this announcement that we have. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait for, what we have on Thursday, because it's going to be a fabulous show. It's going to be long, but it's going to be worth it. And there's going to be so much great reactions and so much highlights. I can't wait for that. But I'll, leave the announcement to Trevor, but it's a great announcement that is coming up. So make sure you guys tune into the rest of the show.
All right. So the announcement, actually, the funny thing is, Isaiah, is to add on to that, is 1 year ago today when MI6 was doing its first ever draft extravaganza. It happened. I got a Facebook notification said 1 year ago to this day, we had the NFL MI6 draft party, and the rest was history. That's when the early days of MI6, before we got John, Callan, and like the list before MI6 started to grow, I would say, and ventured off to the people we got. So that was the original draft extravaganza date back in the day. It was a fun time. It was long. It was grueling, but we got through it, and it was a draft that we would never forget. But it was 4 hours long. It was brutal. I don't know how we got through it. But for this draft this coming week, next week, is on Thursday, April 29th at 4:30 Pacific time would be the draft extravaganza. So multi-hours with the best of the crew of the MI6 Sports Network to look at the NFL draft, seeing all that amazing stuff. So make sure you tune in for that, and make sure you check out our social media page so you stay up to date on when we go live, so you can join in for us for that multi-hour event. And I will now pass it off to John for his final thoughts.
First of all, that show is going to be great. We're going to be streaming it. Isaiah is going to flip Mac Jones to the San Francisco 49ers.
Yes.
But really, on top of that, it's definitely a lot of fun being on here. We troll and joke with Isaiah because it is one of the many, many things of my sports existence. It's going to be a great show. Can't wait to see Isaiah flip. But thank you all for having me on, and knowing John Elway and the Denver Broncos, you never know what's going to happen, and that truly does scare me.
All right, then that's a good way to end tonight's No BS episode. Fantastic show, gentlemen. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for taking your time out of this glorious Friday night. And stay safe, everybody. Enjoy your Friday nights that remain, and have a safe and happy weekend. Take care, and so long for now.
Yeah. 3-6, mafia.
Yeah.
Whoa. Hey. Yeah. Whoa.
Say what?
Whoa.
3-6 Mafia.